What's up, all my movie-loving maniacs? This your boy Bangful B, and after being 3 months removed from 2023, I finally decided to give you my top 25 favorite movies of 2023. And the reason I waited so long to give you this list is because at the end of last year, I hadn't seen everything that came out in 2023, and I wanted to, basically give almost everything a fair shake before I officially make this list. But at this point, I think I've seen just about everything from 2023 that could or would make at least my top 25 favorite movies of 2023. So I will say I still ain't seen Godzilla Minus One, as I said in my review of Godzilla X Kong. And at this point, it'll probably be a long while before I ever get a chance to see it, because it's going to be released on Blu-ray in June, but only in Japan, and whether or not I'll be able to get my hands on that or not, only time will tell. But as of right now, I've decided to put 2023 in the can as far as movies go. And for a little disclaimer, I just want to say this list is purely subjective. It's not the AFI's best list. It is my list. This list is completely subjective. There are some objectivity to this list, but for the most part, this list is based off of my enjoyment of these movies, how I personally assess these movies, and how these movies have stuck with me long after I leave the theater from seeing them. So if you disagree with this list, that's totally fine. Sorry, but not really sorry. I just ask that you just be respectful. And I'm also talking to the people that's viewing this video on TikTok, because I reviewed my ranking of the Monsterverse, and some people in the comment section had some words to say and they didn't agree. And that's totally fine. But again, whenever I put a list out, it's always off of subjective. It is not based off of objectivity. And also, you heard right, I'm doing 25 because there was just so much that came out last year that I really dug, and I just wanted to give them a highlight. But it's really the top 10 that I care about the most. And however you feel about these movies I'm about to review, all 25 of these movies have one thing in common. They remind me why I love movies and why I love to go to the movie theater. Now that that's out of the way, let's get into my top 25 favorite movies of 2023, or as I like to call it, my top 25 favorite movies of 2023 that I just personally liked more than Oppenheimer. Sorry, Christopher Nolan. At 25 is Fair Play. I really dug this movie. I enjoyed the two leads. I thought this was an intriguing erotic thriller about the power struggle between the couple in a workforce. At 24, Talk to Me. This was probably one of the most original and inventive horror films that I saw last year. At 23, Rustin. I thought this told a great story about the formation of the Million Man March and the man that ran it. And this is definitely an important story that should be told and should be seen, and Coleman Domingo was definitely well deserved of that Oscar nomination. At 22, Past Lives. I was surprised with how much I liked this film, and it fucked me up because it touches on themes of regret and wishing things had turned out differently within your life. At number 21, John Wick Chapter 4. I think this is the best of all the John Wick sequels, but then again, this is the first John Wick movie that I actually went to the theater to go see, so that might be a factor, but still, it had some of the best action I've seen in any John Wick film. I'm curious to see how they are going to top this, especially since they plan on expanding the John Wick franchise beyond John Wick himself. They already started that with the Continental, and I have some opinions about that. But regardless, I'm curious to see how they are going to continue this franchise with or without Keanu, but as for this movie, this is peak John Wick, in my opinion. Even more so than the first film, and I already thought the first film was peak John Wick. At number 20 is Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, or just Dead Reckoning, because they have revealed that Part 2 to this movie is going to be a different title, so I don't know, they all confused. But Dead Reckoning may not be my favorite within the Mission Impossible franchise, but it was a damn good time at the theater watching it. Tom Cruise still has it as an action star, and after watching Part 1, I can't wait to see what's in store for Part 2. At number 19, Air. I like a good story about business, and this film was about the business aspect of one of the most iconic shoes of all time. Matt Damon and Ben Affleck and crew really delivered on this film, and Viola Davis as Michael Jordan's mother really should have been nominated for an Oscar for this film. At number 18, The Creator. Not particularly an original film, but still one of the most original sci-fi films I've seen in modern memory. The visuals are stunning, and Gareth Edwards really put his foot in on this one. At number 17, Living with Chucky, which is the first of 3 documentaries that managed to crack my top 25 favorite movies of 2023. This documentary was not just a love letter to the Chucky franchise and its fans, but also the people in front of and behind the camera that kept this franchise alive for over 30 years. And I'm happy that this is what made me go back and binge watch the Chucky TV series. At number 16, The Iron Claw. I heard about how good this was and how depressing it is, but overall this was a great package of a film that gave us one of, if not the best performance out of Zac Efron, and he damn sure should have been nominated for an Oscar for this film. And number 15, Killers of the Flower Moon. If I were to give this movie a specific award, it will be the Standing on Business Award to Martin Scorsese, because, you all know, Martin Scorsese, he's had a lot of opinions and things to say about the current state of modern movies, and yet he is a man in his 80s still making awesome movies and showing everyone how it's done. And that's why I say he gets the Standing on Business Award. Despite that this movie is over 3 hours long, it still highlighted one of the darkest times in American history, and it's still relevant today. And shout out to Lily Gladstone, because she damn sure should have won the Best Supporting Actress for this movie. And number 14, Megan, or Meg 3, however you want to call it. I love this movie the more I watch it, because even though it's a typical killer doll movie, it touches on themes like grief, processing your grief, and how the kids of today are so attached to their technology. And sometimes they use it as a coping mechanism. At number 13 is Creed 3. I was excited for this because it was a different type of movie within the Rocky universe. It didn't rely on past characters, as evident to the fact that Sylvester Stallone didn't return for this movie as Rocky. And whether or not you think that's a good thing or not, that's up to you to decide. But also, I feel like Rocky not being there just gave the Creed franchise within the Rocky universe a chance to breathe and be its own thing. I'm curious to see what Michael B. Jordan does as a director next. And if it wasn't for Jonathan Majors' legal troubles, I'd say he is on his way as a great black actor. At number 12, Maxine's Baby, which is the documentary about Tyler Perry and his life and all his success. And as I said before, however you feel about Tyler Perry as a person and a filmmaker, you cannot deny him as a businessman, and you also cannot deny him as a person, because this documentary definitely highlighted all his struggles, his upbringing, and everything he had to do to get up to how successful he is. Even if he makes shitty movies from time to time, like Mea Culpa. But if you think about Tyler Perry in a negative way, watch this documentary and it will definitely put a lot of things in perspective. Because it definitely put a lot of things in perspective for me. And number 11, Somebody I Used to Know. Now, for a long time, this movie actually was in my top 10, but other things came out and it knocked it out. But I still enjoyed the hell out of it because it subverted my expectations as a romantic comedy. I'm also curious to see what Dave Franco does as a filmmaker next, and I'll also never pass up the opportunity to look at Alison Brie. Man, Dave Franco is a blessed man. And now kicking off my top 10 with Joyride. Movies like this don't get made anymore, and if they do, they get dumped on a streaming service. But regardless, this is one of my favorite comedies of 2023 because it took me back to a time when they would release movies like this and put them in theaters. But it still had heart. The fact that this movie had Asian representation and everybody in the movie was funny or had funny moments was an added bonus. This one I highly recommend if you want to have a good laugh for like less than 2 hours. I definitely recommend this one if you haven't seen it yet. At number 9, Barbie. Fuck it. I don't give a damn what conservatives, man babies, anti-feminists, and the anti-woke crowd says. And if you really feel some type of way about this movie, hey, that's on you, and that just says more so about you. Admittedly, I enjoyed this movie more than I did Oppenheimer. Now granted, Barbie is more of the crowd-pleasing film than anything. And I know Oppenheimer and Barbie were two completely different movies, but hey, it still added to the whole Barbenheimer experience last summer. But this made my top 10 because it's one of my favorite movie theater experiences from last year. I admire how Greta Gerwig brought this world to life, but more than anything, I admire how she didn't just make a giant commercial for Barbie. She actually told an actual story. She made a movie that had something to say about the experience of being a woman, the struggles that women go through, what it means to be a woman. And anybody that is against this movie, if you come across someone that did love this movie, I recommend that you ask that person, like, why did this movie resonate with them? I'm not even a woman, and this movie resonated with me through that sobering monologue that America Ferrera beautifully said in the movie. That speech put a lot of things in perspective for me, and overall, I thought it was just a good little movie about the Barbie brand. At number 8 is 1001. This is one of the most underrated films of last year, and I hope more people get a chance to see it. Because I really feel like this movie should have came out during award season, so that way it's fresh on everybody's mind, particularly for Teyana Taylor, because this is probably one of the best performances I've ever seen her in. She really has some chops as an actress. but it was also a good story about growing up in New York during the 90s and early 2000s, at a time when areas of color were being gentrified and what it means for the people that live in those areas and how it affects them. At number 7, The Holdovers. This was a surprise hit for me. This is definitely a modern Christmas classic that will probably be in more people's rotation every holiday season as the years go by since this film's released. Because it will definitely be for me every year or every 2 years or so. But what makes this such a unique Christmas movie is that it's for people that have the sense of loneliness and have nowhere to go during the holidays. Plus, I love the vibe and the filmmaking that's put on display in this film. Plus, you get some great performances, particularly from Divine Joy Randolph, who just won Best Supporting Actress in this film. And I'm glad she did, and I can't wait to see what's in store for the next chapter of her career. Number 6 is American Fiction. More than anything, this movie spoke to me on a filmmaking level. It had something to say about Black representation in media, but it also gave us a nice family drama that goes hand in hand with those themes. It's also easily one of my favorite films starring Jeffrey Wright. At number 5 is Steel, the Michael J. Fox story. Now, as far as the documentaries that I saw in 2023, this is the one I love the most. Not only it chronicles the life of Michael J. Fox, it chronicles his life in a unique way with him, his family, and all the footage and clips of all his work, which makes this package of a documentary rise above all the other documentaries I saw in 2023. The fact that the subject matter at hand hit me in the heartstrings was an added bonus. And it also put in perspective how precious life can be. At number 4, They Cloned Tyrone. The 3 leading casts already had me sold, but the actual film itself was fantastic. It had the vibe and social consciousness of Get Out, but also went hand in hand with the Black exploitation elements. Jamie Foxx was funny as hell. I'm always rooting for John Boyega after Disney did him dirty with Star Wars. And I always love me some Teyonah Parris. Plus, let's be real, she was more better as an actress in this movie than she did in the one she did for Marvel last year. Speaking of Marvel, coming in at number 3 is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. 2023 was a pretty underwhelming year for the MCU brand, but the one MCU movie that rose above Ant-Man Quantumania and the Marvels was Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which I honestly didn't expect. And it's crazy how with both Guardians of the Galaxy sequels, there's an MCU movie that I'm anticipating more than that film. Because I remember in 2017, I was anticipating Spider-Man Homecoming more than Guardians 2, and I ended up liking Guardians 2 more than Spider-Man Homecoming. And in 2023, I was anticipating Quantumania more than Guardians 3, and I ended up liking Guardians 3 more than Quantumania. And while I don't believe for one second that this is the last Guardians film, or at least the last time we'll see this incarnation of the Guardians of the Galaxy, I do love how they've wrapped this trilogy up. They gave Rocket Raccoon the backstory and development he deserved. It was an all-around entertaining film, but above all, this is one of the few post-Infinity Saga MCU movies where I felt the director actually put his foot into the filmmaking in this film. I felt like for this movie, Kevin Feige and company just stood back and let James Gunn cook. Whereas with the other MCU films that came out this year, just felt like they came off an assembly line. But at number 2, The Blackening, which is my runner-up. It's my favorite comedy of the year because it was hilarious. It was one of my favorite theater experiences of last year. And as Corey Coleman of Double Toasted put it so perfectly, this movie is 3 things. It had the social consciousness of Get Out, the self-awareness of Scream, and the foolishness of Scary Movie. And coming in at number 1 is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. What can I say about this movie that hasn't been said? This movie was firing on all cylinders, especially for an animated film. It's one of those movies that benefits from repeat viewings because you might see something particularly in the animation that you didn't see before. Progression, the underlying story, and the voice acting, just chef's kiss. It really sucks that we ain't gonna get Beyond the Spider-Verse until 2025, but I can wait because if it is as good, if not better than this film, it will definitely be worth the wait. And that is my top 25 favorite movies of 2023. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, and let me know what your top 10, 15, 20, 25, whatever the case is. Let me know what your favorite movies of 2023 are. And like I said before, this is a completely subjective list. So if you don't agree with this list, hey, sorry, not sorry. And if you want to see more of the list of 2023 movies I've seen ranked, check out my Letterboxd account, which is Lassiter Factor, uppercase L, uppercase F, together, no space. This your boy Bangful B. Stay safe, wash your hands, peace.